With us this morning is the great John Sparti. If you are a tabletop sports gamer who likes a little flair with your projects, you might know this man already. And if you don't, by the end of this discussion, you'll be reaching for your wallet. I guarantee you. Now,
Sorry about that.
no, that's a good thing. It's a great thing. We recently saw Bobby Porter showing off the Three Rivers
Yeah,
Stadium. And a couple years ago, we saw a Michigan and Trumbull. Those folks who do those great dice boxes even gave.
yeah, I've done some work for him, and he's a very nice guy. He does great. He does a great job. It seems like he builds the dice tower into the stadium, and I've tried doing that, and it turned into a mess.
Interesting,
So
interesting.
I'll leave that up to him. If anybody wants to go that route, use him because his stadiums are pretty cool.
Well, let's talk. I'm glad you mentioned that, and we'll talk a little more about your methodology here. But I wanted to talk quickly just about your design background. As I see on your website, you've got logo design. It looks like you do some
Yeah,
packaging design. Maybe I see you got some of your fine aviation art there. I've seen some Corsairs
yeah.
and Wildcats,
Yeah.
Hellcats, even a
Oh, you know them
PB.
good.
Yeah, yeah. So what kind of is your design background, and then we'll get working on how you got into
Well,
designing stadiums.
I went to Eastern Illinois University, studied graphic arts. I mean, when I started there was no Max. And then we eventually got the first Max into the program at the school. So I was like hands-on with the beginning of that. And eventually I, graduated, took a while to find a job, ended up working for Turtle Wax, designing their product labels for all their waxes, car washes, thousands of products. And then I left Turtle Wax and I worked for a company called Simoniz, and they're on the East Coast. And I pretty much do all their packaging for retail and some other companies that work with them. I do a lot of their products. I've been doing these two companies since the 90s.
How do you manage your schedule such that you can do your personal work in addition to your, the paying the bills kind of thing?
Now I'm a freelancer, so I've been freelancing for about 20 years.
Wow.
So there's a lot of lag time in between working on a project for a client where they need to send it for approval. So I have some downtime in the middle of the day or between working on something. And then, I got back into Stratomatic in 2005.
Right.
I got back into the game. And so right around 2015, I was playing on dice on my table and it was denting the table. So I'm like, I need to build something here. And I'm not a woodworker at all. I just had some extra wood and some saws, and I started building a stadium, which was my very first one, was a Fenway. It became a Fenway Park. And it saved my table.
Yeah.
And from there, I was like, well, my wife was like, maybe you should sell these on eBay. So I started selling a few on eBay and people started buying them. So then as I started building more and more stadiums, gamers were buying them. They wanted more specifics on the stadium, such as like a team on there, or they wanted numbers on the walls, or they wanted eventually someone asked, can I have a scoreboard? So then I started creating graphically the scoreboards for a lot of the stadiums, which I would include only was just the three walls. I like to keep the front end open so that, because when I was playing, as you're rolling the dice, you want to be able to retrieve them. You don't want to reach over even any kind of wall. So I made it like the shape of the stadium, and then I guess it's four sides, but that little triangle part is open to retrieve the dice. So then originally I started making them out of felt. The stadium field was felt, but then I found that it seemed like it didn't wear very long. It didn't have a long lifespan, and it was really hard to cut with an X-Acto. My background was I used to create a lot of mock-ups for products. So I think I'm very good at creating mock-ups and was able to translate that into the stadiums. So from there, I just designed it graphically from an above shot on Google Earth gave me an above shot, and I just created the field look of each stadium. And they are pretty much different. I mean, the dimensions of the field are the same, but a lot of them have different size. I guess the infield sand or batter circles, or even the coaches boxes are different on each of the lines, right and left field. Some of the older stadiums have the bullpens within the stadium, not outside the walls. So, I try to make those unique to each stadium. And then eventually gamers kept asking for, can I have this stadium? Can I have that stadium? So I don't know, I couldn't say no. It's hard for me to say no. So I just kept at it.
So about how many have you produced to date, and do you do anything beyond Major League Baseball fields?
I've done a few football stadiums, maybe about five, but it's just basically the stadium, and it doesn't have like the outer walls. It might have some graphics of the team. For the Bears, on one of them, I put the fight song on the outside. But it's just basically a football field with the team emblem in the middle or in the end zones. So there's an area for somebody to roll the dice. Amazingly, when I started counting. I don't know why, because I didn't envision it becoming a big, not big, but
Well,
265.
are there any materials that over the years, you mentioned felt, any other materials that you have stuck with or had to drop? You thought it didn't work out well?
The only thing I've dropped is the felt. And I'm sure that gives it a quieter sound. I tried once or twice using like a foam pad, but I didn't think that was going to wear well, but it was quieter for some of the gamers. So a couple of fellas asked me to make a dice tower, but it turned into a mess. So I never did that. We'll leave that to Michigan.
Sure.
Yeah, so they can do those.
So when folks reach out to you, you've got a website, we'll put the link below here. They reach out to you by email or by phone. And how do you suggest folks, what should they come to you with in terms of details?
I would say pretty much just what team you would like. And some gamers have bought more than one at once. But pretty much what team, and any specifics that they would like on there, that I am able to add a few things, maybe on the scoreboard, a lineup or something, but anything else might be too extensive and too time consuming. One gamer did ask for Washington Nationals, and he wanted a really closer replica. And I really don't make replicas like a miniature. I try to make it look like a game. So there is some resemblances of the stadiums, but some of them have things that are, I call it condensing everything into that little 11, it's 11 and a half by 11 and a half by whatever height. The only stadiums that are might be wider are Polo Grounds and Fenway, because of their shapes are a little bit longer.
And have you ever considered a larger format?
I have made a few larger formats for gamers, but it's very time consuming, and it can be kind of dangerous. I don't want to cut off my fingers.
What is the lead time, and do you provide photos during the process, or just kind of knock it?
Yeah, I'll try to send some photos of the updates of how it usually takes about 3 to 4 weeks, maybe sooner, depending on the stadium. How long it takes to have prints ordered. I have to order the vinyl prints from a printer, and that takes time. I have to go pick them up, and so that's usually about a week. And then to create the stadium itself takes a few days, 4 or 5 days, maybe a week. So I always give myself a little extra time in case there's a problem. And then, of course, to ship it and everything. The shipping, I can't find another way around lowering the price. It's gone up almost double in 10 years, since 2015. I was able to ship for like $12 for some of them, but now they're anywhere from 20 to 22 for shipping. And the weight is only maybe 6 to 8 pounds per box, but that's just how much it costs. So there's just no way around that.
And they're all in one piece. You can't like do it in sections and unpack it and reassemble.
Well, I do make some of the scoreboards and outer walls that connect to the outer stadium that are backdrops. Those are removable. So I build those into just skewers into the corrugated plastic that I mounted to. That was another material that started using. And I think that gives a pretty cool look for some of the outfield walls. It gives it almost like a realistic look with it has there's like lines in there in the corrugation that give it kind of a neat, kind of realistic look for the outfield walls. So I started using that, and then I was able to add on to actually making grandstands in the back, and then scoreboards connected to it. And they all come in pieces because I felt if somebody wanted to stow it away, you'd want to take it apart and lay it flat or put it somewhere.
Or take it on the road, something like
Yeah,
that?
you could take it on the road if you want, or maybe you just want to take the box itself and leave everything else, you know.
Have you ever sent any overseas?
No, I don't believe so. I think maybe Canada was the only, I guess that's not overseas, but it's hard to ship to Canada. I still haven't figured it out. I don't understand what the problem is, and can't they just figure it out and make it the same, you know, but it's kind of bizarre.
And because you're a logo designer, you could conceivably design someone's fictitious team for an extra cost.
I have done that. I have created a few stadiums for some guys who just wanted their logo on it of their I don't know what strat league they're in. Maybe they wanted the league on there or something. And I think one gamer wanted all the league teams that were fictional. So, but I haven't had too many of those. Only a few.
So did you build your first one just for yourself, and do you still have it and use it?
No, I do not have it. I sold it. Actually, I do not have one. I just use a dice tower. Well, I don't know why. I just have it. I always sell them because somebody wants one. I'm like, well, I might as well sell them mine because I'd rather have someone else have it than keep mine. You know, I can always make one for myself if I need it.
And what are your teams?
Well, I'm outside of Chicago, so of course I was a Cub fan. A little bit of a White Sox here and there throughout the past. Mostly before '85, I liked the White Sox, and then I don't really have a second favorite baseball team. But I really don't watch a lot of modern baseball. I mostly do. I've even this last week I've watched 3 historical games on YouTube from the '70s, and boy, what a difference! And it's so cool to watch. You know, just the way they play and everything. It's a lot different.
Now, if folks send you, because we have folks like Paul Barone does football fields for Strat from the 60s, 70s, AFL. Lots of other folks have done over the years, trying to really replicate the diamond on the football field early in the football season, things like that. Have you built a lot of the kind of retro stadiums, or how might you go about if someone wanted a very specific look for a team, an era? Would they send you the drawings, or do you do some research on
I
that?
do a lot of research online, looking up the old photos, like the Polo Grounds. That was, and it's kind of fun and educational to research these to learn about. I had a good time learning about Ebbets Field and noticing that throughout the years, the scoreboard changed and a lot of things on it in the early '50s, throughout the '50s. Every year it seemed to have a different look, and I had to finally pick one. But I did learn all through that process of how it looked.
Could you build? We saw that Bobby Porter added a strip of lights to the top of Three
Yeah, he
Rivers
sent
there.
me that. That was so cool. I mean, that's great. I love when the players send pictures, and and it's kind of neat.
Would you be able to build a space for more electronics in there, like a little miniature scoreboard or something?
Yeah, if they just let me know the size of it, or a little area that they can add it on, I don't see why not.
And how
But
do
I
you
probably couldn't do the electronics myself, but I mean, I'm sure those LED light kits are pretty easy to install nowadays.
or a little light bright or something in there,
Yeah, that'd be cool.
How do you generate details throughout the stadium? I saw your Yankee Stadium with the 3 plaques at the back there in the outfield.
For that one, I recreated all those graphics, trying to find an image with good resolution try to match what's happening there, try to match the fonts of old, and to see if I can recreate it. Where only a few of them I used the actual photos where I couldn't do it. It was too blurry or just too hard to do. So I used an actual photo of the backdrop, which to me I think looks good too.
Is there a particular stadium that's harder to build than others? You mentioned the evolution of one stadium. Are there some are easier than others?
The ones that are harder, which I do charge more for, are the stadiums like Polo Grounds, Tiger Stadium, Comiskey Park, because I build those with the grandstands that are kind of angled cut with the stanchion poles. I don't know if that's the name of it, but there's a lot of woodworking on the table saw for those. So it gets time consuming.
If people wanted to use, say, custom woods, say for inserts or inlays, you'd be able to do that. If somebody wanted to really like a bunch of woods, cherry and maple and oak and walnut.
I could do it, but it would be really pricey to do those. And my table saw might tear it up a lot. So I just use plywood and like an MDF, so I try to keep it rustic looking, because there's no way I can spend the time and I don't have the amount of expertise to make it look like a Fabergé egg or, like the nice woodworking. I really can't, I don't have time for that or to learn it.
Sure.
I tried to build a table once and it completely was a mess. I was able to make my kitchen island though, but that was easy because it was parts that I was able to buy. So I just had to assemble them.
Is there a stadium that you haven't built yet that you're hoping someone orders? Like, well, I really would like to tackle this one or that one.
Probably maybe like the old Boston National League team, Boston Braves. I have some images of that, but I don't know if there's many online to find, or even the St. Louis Browns.
What about, say, if you're doing those old toilet bowl football stadiums that started cropping up in the 70s, Riverfront, where you did the three rivers, but you did it with the angles? Would you ever do something that could be round with an open front?
I don't think I could do the round without cutting like 45-degree or 22-degree angles. I would pretty much have to just make my box and then use the corrugated plastic to make that round shape. And that's what I did with Three Rivers. And another gamer is asking for Riverfront. And they're almost the same stadium. It's almost the same, the way that they were built and everything. But I haven't started that one yet. I do have I'm working on a stadium right now.
Ooh,
This is Connie Mack. It's going to be Connie Mack.
awesome.
I know, and I was kind of disappointed because I wanted to finish it this weekend. I went for the prints yesterday and they weren't ready. So I was kind of, I have to wait till next week. So I hope the person doesn't mind waiting a few more days. But this is how they look painted up. And this is what I was talking about, the angled cuts of the different stands that kind of give you that angled look.
Awesome.
Of an old stadium. Then I drilled out for you can see the holes there.
Oh, yeah.
For the pillars to go in there. And this is painted up, so it's all ready for decals and scoreboard and lights. And then in the field decal, this is going to be Connie Mack.
Nice.
So and the odd thing is, I've had like 3 or 4 requests for Connie Mack in the last month, so it's a hot stadium.
There you go.
And I can show you another one. Is like it's the basic stadium. This is how they look, just wood. And this is going to be, I believe, the Astrodome. Perfect. Somebody wanted the Astrodome, so this is how I started creating my boxes, with the center field wall, the outfield, and then the open end here to reach. If you're rolling dice on a table, you don't want to reach over. You just want to grab your dice and start the next roll, or put your dice tower right in here. I've done that before, where I just put the dice tower in here and it has a little tray to stop the dice. So this is the size, and basically it's 11.5 by 11.5.
So is it everything joined? You mentioned, the holes that you have the kind of the joins there. Is it predominantly glue otherwise? Do you do any stapling or anything?
I glue it, and I used to tack nail it, but I don't do that anymore. I found that the glue is pretty good. It holds pretty well once I glue it. So I would think if the glue fails, the nails are just gonna, they're not really gonna hold it that much if I tack it with the staple gun. So I pretty much just glue it and it holds pretty good.
Are there any kind of maintenance or protection tips?
I guess if it's wearing out, I could send someone a new cover to stick on there somehow, you know. But I haven't had anybody request any problems.
Do you have a waiting list at all about how many are you expecting to complete by the end of this year?
I have no idea. I do have these two I'm working on. And then another gamer today requested another Connie Mac. So we're waiting on that. But they're really, it does back up sometimes. It seems to go in spurts. Not sure why, but maybe if it gets spread around on Facebook or something, then I get requests. At the most, there's maybe 3 or 4 and backed up, but I always let somebody know that I'm backed up a little. It might take a month or a little bit over, and no one seems to mind.
Do you sign them at all, serial number them?
I just started to number the bottom. I do put a little logo on the bottom, the Mini Dice Stadium logo. I stick it on the bottom, and then I started numbering them.
Have you seen photos when folks are sending their photos? Have you seen any of them take photos of your stadiums outside of their homes, you know, in kind of cool locations?
Only a few guys have sent it, and I've seen a couple on YouTube. There was a gamer who's using some of my older ones. Like, I'm like, tell my wife, that's our stadium. That's my stadium, you know? It was kind of cool to see.
In terms of your gaming, Stratomatic, what's your collection like? You in the middle of any projects?
I'm working on, right now, I just finished April of 76 National League through July of 69 National League, and I went back to 73 American League. So I kind of like working, you know, playing these. I started doing replays only a few years ago. I'd never done them. It was just whatever teams I pulled out and played, and I was able to acquire 1960 through whatever in the 70s it goes up to with Stratomatic every season. So I used to just play random time machine games, but then I started doing replays of seasons, and I love it. It's addictive. I usually get about 2 or 3 games a day. If I don't play it, it's like my wife's like, "How come you're not playing tonight? Is something wrong?"
Wow.
Yeah,
You gotta hear those dice rolling in a house somewhere. Yeah.
yeah. The kitchen table is no longer a kitchen table. It's a Stratomatic table.
You got to build yourself one. That'd be awesome. If you build your ideal stadium, what would it be? How would you do it?
I did create a board, and I did make their little card holders so I can view the cards horizontally instead of just flipping them by hand. So they're in each slot about 9 inches long. I think I have it on the website. I used to make those, but I stopped because it was just another step of doing more stuff. But it does hold the cards and a little card holder for the pitcher on each side of this on a board, and then the dice towers in the middle where I have the stadium, and then I score C and D, and I score by hand. So then I have the little score card in front of me. The as played, I do as played, and I know Kurt Berglund says as played, heads will explode. I'm trying to get into more seasons, but I have to finish the month if I start it. So that takes maybe 3 months to do one.
And now I'm looking back at your website, and I'll say the name, but I'll put the link below. It is Sparti Design.
Yes.
.myportfolio.com. SpartiDesign.myportfolio.com. And do you also do custom portraiture? Because I mentioned your airplane art, your cowboy and horse paintings. You did your 56 top replica painting series, some beach paintings.
Yeah, that's these are the 56 cards that I recreated painting. That was Pee Wee, Sandy Koufax.
Beautiful.
And I had these ready.
Sure.
You might ask. And then I got
Nice.
Claire, but Hank Aaron, that's when he was with Milwaukee. I don't hardly ever get any, maybe 1 or 2 I've gotten, and then the person never followed up for an airplane painting, but I haven't gotten many requests for any kind of like fine art. but that's okay. I mostly do it for myself anyways, like the airplanes. I do model building, like model airplanes, and I do a lot of that. So dioramas. So then I'll get an idea for a painting from that. And like if you see the wildcat drawing and painting that I did on my website, first I did the drawing, then I converted it into the painting. So you can kind of see back there, I'm working on a P-51 in the back. It's only just an beginning phase, and it's been frozen for months. I haven't finished it yet, or even moved an inch lately on it, but I'll get to it someday.
Well, any last thoughts about tabletop gaming and how to kind of incorporate your stadium's custom work into it? Why is it that people feel that need to kind of have that extra little connection with the art and the work that you're doing?
I just think it's the kind of neat way that I make them. That it looks like a game, and it doesn't look like a miniature replica. Is what I've always tried to keep it as. And I think people have a need someplace to roll their dice, that they don't have it, and it's just something that maybe people see it looks pretty cool and they want it, and hopefully I can keep making them for them. So I did take about a year off. It was kind of a sad time. I lost my dog. It was, and I couldn't do anything. But actually, it was some gamers that got me back into a gamer out in California. Got me back into building the stadiums and helped me through it. So,
do you have a price list somewhere, or is it case by case?
I do kind of have a figured out price list for like a stadium. Like this one would be like $77 plus 22 shipping. And that would include, just the basic stadium and then the Houston decorating of the stadium. Some of the stadiums like Tiger Stadium, Comiskey Park, Polo Grounds, I charge $85 because that has more intricate cuts. Some of those angles, which I've shown in the Connie Mac, and those just take a little more time and a little more time on the table saw and building, and they're a little bit bigger, not bigger really. Only Polo Grounds is a little bit bigger, but it does take a little more time. And some of those pole cuts and angle cuts for Comiskey has its center field with, and so I think that should be a little more because it takes more time. If somebody just wants the basic stadium, just the three walls, center, I think I can do that for like 65 plus shipping, a little bit less. If somebody has a budget they need, I can work with it. That might be a little too much. Here's what I'd like. I haven't had many requests for that. They either like the price or they don't buy it, I guess. I mean, but it does take about 10 to 12 hours to build each stadium. Now that does not include designing the dressing, the graphics, which could take, who knows, maybe 20 hours, a long time to do those, to recreate some of the stadiums. But I don't include that. I don't really include that in the price. A lot of the expenditure goes towards the vinyl and the wood and the shipping. I guess there's no way around it. I just don't publish them on the website because it might change, or I just don't want to be manicuring the website too much. I should add some new games to it. But usually if someone contacts me through there, I'll get back to them right away as soon as I can. And then I just let them know how much it is. And, if there's a time wait. And I let them know they can either pay PayPal or send me a check. Pretty much two ways where I accept is PayPal or check. And then we go from there, and just start building their stadium.
What's the next game you're going to roll right now for your project?
I'm moving on to, I think it's a game in '73. I think it's the White Sox versus the Yankees. I kind of set my games up after I finish the last.
Awesome.
So that's what I'm going to later.
John, it's been a real pleasure. Thank you so much for all the work you're doing. People are loving it, and I hope you get a lot more orders.
Thank you. Thank you so much.